This is iilluminaughtii. She ran a channel at one point that was bringing in millions of views a month and uploading consistently, but now has been completely abandoned as of May of 2024. iilluminaughtii would create her channel back in 2013 and began uploading in 2019. Her channel was first known for talking about multi-level marketing schemes and talking about the dirty past of many popular companies. She would gain the respect of many people for covering these stories that not a lot of people were willing to talk about. She would be known as the MLM YouTuber, but this respect will soon be lost because of a series of dumb decisions and allegations that have left her channel in a state of decay that has never been seen before. The real downfall would start when Blair would get into a beef with Legal Eagle's editing group, calling them out for stealing her editing style and changing her assets from purple to blue. She would then show them reaching out to others on Discord about it, and then would show examples of them copying her editing style. This would not go well for her, with many people saying that this is unprofessional, and she would get caught out by a ton of other creators for trying to claim one of the most basic editing styles when it comes to this side of YouTube. This is when we would see a switch in people's perspectives towards Blair and her channel. She would be hit with a ton of accusations of plagiarism, and people would dive into her videos and find tons of examples of her copying word for word what somebody else said in these documentaries. This was not a good look for Blair, making her seem very hypocritical for calling somebody out for doing the same thing that she was doing. It would be even worse when Legal Eagle would respond. Legal Eagle would respond saying that they've already used this editing style before over 4 years ago and did it before Blair. They also said that this style is very common on YouTube, and they would talk about the editor who reached out to her being very inspired by Blair and actually being a fan of hers, which made her look even worse. But this was not the only thing that ruined Blair's reputation. Sad Milk was a group channel ran by iilluminaughtii and a couple more creators such as The Click, Oz Media, Hi I'm Wonder, and One Topic. This channel only ran by these creators and would build up a fan base of over 200k subscribers. A few days after the Legal Eagle drop, a former member of Sad Milk, The Click, would come out with a series of Twitter posts talking about his time with Sad Milk and what kind of person Blair really is. Hey peeps, I've seen the recent drama regarding iilluminaughtii. I have left her and her collaboration group, Sad Milk, due to similar behavior as seen in recent events. He would talk about how Blair would lash out at fans and her friends, having poor anger management skills, yelling at people in team meetings, calling them bad friends and lazy, which just shows off her being hypocritical again. She would think things up in people's past to keep something over them while they work. She would threaten to fire Click publicly if he did not fire his staff or his Discord, since it passed hers in size. After Click's statement came out, members Oz Media, Wonder would talk about their experiences with Blair. Wonder was a member of Sad Milk who would help with editing videos for the project. He would also confirm that this is the way that Blair acted behind closed doors. He has been threatened with a breach of contract with his NDA for talking about this. He would talk about how this was the closest thing that he had to a family. He would describe going out of his way to help a video that was made by a lazy editor that was hired by Blair, and he would end up missing Christmas and didn't even receive a thank you from Blair for doing this. He would accuse her of delaying payments and then going out and spending hundreds of dollars on food and other things. He would talk about how moving in with Blair for 30 days was close to being a disaster. He would show off her living arrangement, which was less than ideal. He would also talk about how Blair was getting mad at him for stealing a therapist that she gave to him in the first place. He would then talk about how at the end of his time with Blair, he ended up with no car, no money, barely any clothes on his back, and a neglected channel. He was working full time again to put food on the table, and this really affected his growth. He would talk about how she threw his play button away personally and is just a vile person. This would then leave us with Oz Media. Oz Media would talk about the situation with Blair and Sad Milk from 2020 to 2021. He would talk about how Blair needed to be in control of the situation behind the scenes out of her fear of a lack of personality for that channel. She would also lash out at people behind the scenes if they wanted to assist her. Oz would say that Blair was always the aggressor in these situations. She would never publicly apologize to people, just like the Legal Eagle situation, and would hide behind private apologies because it made her look stupid and weak if she did them publicly. She would take it even farther than it needed to go. She would reach out and try to get channels banned. She would delete comments mentioning certain things. She would blacklist collaborators on Sad Milk and would allow hateful comments to go, insulting the people that have left. He would talk about them moving in together and her saying that people were trying to backstab her, they were villains, and that they wronged her. He would talk about the group splitting up and Blair making people pick sides, and he chose Blair since he lived with her. These posts painted Blair in a bad light, and she would respond with a video called iilluminaughtii Exposed. In this video, she would talk about the accusations made against her. She would first talk about Bomber Guy's video about plagiarism, where she herself was called out in that video for doing so. She would show off the textbook definition of plagiarism and would say that it's obvious to her at the time that it was clearly from the documentary and that she put quotes around it and cited it as a source in her videos. She would then move on to Click and the incident in his Discord, saying that they didn't take immediate action when a proud pedophile was in his server bragging about being 19 years old with a 12-year-old. She would also talk about him using slurs and other hateful language with people and saying that he said the N-word while they were in VC together, painting Click as this racist predator supporter. She would then move on to Wonder, who takes a bulk of this video. iilluminaughtii would say that she gave Wonder a job that pays bi-weekly since she was trying to help a friend who needed help. She would say that she never missed a payment, and she would also talk about a situation with her and Oz Media where they both will put up money together to get Wonder a car. She would then take the car away from Wonder because of a breach of contract. After this happened, Wonder would tell Oz and herself that he was going to kill himself because of what happened. She would call the police, perform a wellness check on him, and make make sure that he was okay. She would talk about his time editing for her and Sad Milk, saying that he went out of his way to re-edit a video for Sad Milk because he didn't like it. She said that he did this on his own accord. She didn't ask for this, so it's his fault that he missed Christmas with his father and his brother. She would talk about Wonder living with herself and Oz Media for a month, agreeing with Wonder saying it was a disaster. She would accuse him of not taking care of his dog, allowing his dog to bite her dog, and saying that he was just a bad pet owner. She would then talk about the picture Wonder had posted, saying that the room was just meant for unpacking and that he wasn't even allowed to be in that room, saying that the picture was taken without any context. She would not really talk about the things with Oz Media. She would just cry while talking about it, saying that she wishes that they could be friends again, but that ship has sailed.
This final section and this final person will be the hardest for me to address, so I plan on keeping this brief. Oz, you were right. I am afraid of looking stupid and weak online, and yet I am those things right now. You've been with me through a lot of really intense and personal situations in my life. You were there throughout the entire process of my mom's cancer diagnosis, her various treatments, and hospitalizations. And I know there were many times when I had to run out the door suddenly because there was a crash cart in her room and they didn't know if she was going to make it. And you said you'd stay at the house and watch Casper so I could go to my mom. You were there for Casper's various hospitalizations when he would get sick throughout the years. And you helped me through a very difficult surgery recovery. I just want to say thank you for always being my support through all of my ups and downs. I know that a lot of these personal situations in my life left me very thin and sometimes irritable, and I want to say thank you for supporting me through it and talking me through some really hard times. Your support and your friendship meant more to me than I think you'll probably ever know. I'm gonna miss all the fun things we used to do, eating way too much cheese at the melting pot. I'll miss you teaching me how to play Command and Conquer and playing it, and how you've always obviously been Casper's BFF, and you know how Casper is not afraid of Oswaldo. We're both gonna miss you a lot. The truth is, like we've privately discussed before, I always hoped that we'd be able to reconnect again in the future and mend our friendship. I meant that when I said it to you, and I believed you when you said it back. Even after everything that's happened, you were the one person that I always thought we could just get it and pick back up where we left. And unfortunately, I think that ship has sailed. Oz, I miss the friend you were to me, but I think this makes it clear that we finally need to cut all ties.
She also has a point in the video talking about how she was not paying people late and that they were all supposed to pay for an editor and nobody ever did. They all agreed to do this before the channel was made, but this never did. This video was not received very well from people since many found an issue with her airing out her supposed friend's mental health struggles and suicide attempt in a video trying to defend herself. This video would cause everyone involved to respond, with Click, Wonder, and Oz responding in videos themselves about Illuminaughtii. First, we're going to talk about Click's video. Click would talk about the Discord situation that Illuminaughtii would bring up, saying that the reason he didn't respond sooner was simply that he was asleep, and showed that the Predator was banned at 2:14 a.m. his time, and this situation happened around 2 a.m. according to Click. He would talk about how she tried to frame certain things in a way that showed that Click and his staff didn't care, but Click would show off screenshots with more context to the conversations that made Illuminaughtii look even worse. Click would talk about after leaving Sad Milk, these screenshots and rumors would start to go crazy, and it would show conversation with him, Oz, and Blair that made Blair look even worse. Second, we have Wonder's video. Wonder would both release a twit longer in a video to the accusations against his name made by Blair. This video would also feature Oz Media. This video would address a lot of things, and I suggest you to go watch it yourself, since I don't think I can capture the full essence and passion in this video. He would talk about the infamous call, saying that Blair was just yelling at people and caused Oz to leave the call, and Click, who is normally a talkative, extroverted person, would just sit there in silence as she berated him. They would both leave the group shortly after this call. He would talk about how Blair was not paying people on time and saying that she was lying when she said that nobody was helping pay these editors besides herself, which was painting Wonder as a greedy person in an attempt to assassinate his character. He would talk about how he was new at making videos and editing, and that he was living paycheck to paycheck at 19 years old and couldn't even afford food every day, but would show off vague statements showing that he paid every time. He would talk about the video that he had to re-edit for Sad Milk. He would talk about how the editor didn't do a good job on this video. He would also talk about how Blair paid for everything that was used in that video and that she was going to use it as a tax write-off, but because of the poor video quality and timing, he had to go out and re-edit it himself so it can be uploaded on Christmas Eve so they can actually get the tax write-off. Blair didn't ask for this edit, but he felt that it was needed since it was going to help her out, and that she was always much complaining about how nobody helped her after the others have left the channel, so he felt that he needed to do something. He would go into Illuminaughtii's claims about his personal life, talking about his living situation, saying that she was right and that he didn't like living there, and that they talked about moving in together, but this would backfire. Both parties will say that living with each other was not fun and was a bad decision. They didn't get along. Blair would paint the situation that Wonder was not doing his job living there, saying that he was living there rent-free and was just a leech onto the home. She blamed him for his dog biting her dogs, but Wonder would point out that her dog is known for chewing on other dogs' ears, and you can see it in the actual dog's YouTube channel, and his dog finally gave and actually bit it back. He would talk about the car being taken away from him and would show that he didn't even have a breach in contract, saying that Blair went out of her way to take the car and his possessions. The only things that Wonder owned at the time was inside of that car, and she threw them away. He would show off messages of himself trying to get his items back, and would say that she can contact his father for this purpose as well. Also confirmed that she just threw all the items away and didn't even give it a second thought. What made this even worse is that Wonder took the contract that he signed with Blair to an actual lawyer, and it would turn out that this isn't even a legally binding document, and Blair had no right to take this car back. He would also show off a picture that he had put in a thread showing the living arrangement at the time. Blair would say that this room was just used for unpacking, and that Wonder didn't have the respect not to go in there. And this is just false. If you talk to Oz Media, he said he took the photos of many other rooms in this house, saying that this is how it normally is, and that he sent them to Wonder out of pure frustration with Blair, saying that Blair is just a mess and a slob and just didn't clean up after herself. These sets of videos from former members of Sad Milk would make Blair look even worse and help ruin her reputation on the platform. She was now exposed for stealing videos, not paying her employees, and being an overall bad person to be around, and being very abusive in her relationships. Alongside other members of Sad Milk, Oz Media was more than just a collaborator, being a romantic partner to Blair. He would talk about some of the things in Wonder's video and would hope that this would be his response, but he would end up creating a video talking about some of the things that she did to him. He would start the video talking about how Blair was foreclosing his home and would set the day right before Christmas, and would show off messages with Wonder before this happened. This is what he feared that she would do to him. Oz would end up speaking out against Blair anyways, and she would send him a cease and desist over the Twitter thread that Oz posts. Oz wouldn't care and would proceed with his actions in making an Illuminati exposed video and talking about what she actually did to him. He would talk about how this video was being produced and that is being fought by Illuminati tooth and nail to not be released. Talk about the crimes that she had committed with evidence, and that she doesn't want this coming out and is fighting him every step of the way, and he already knows that this is going to end up in a courtroom anyway. He would start to talk about his relationship with Blair, saying that he was 20 years old when she was 28, and he would talk about how Blair would walk him into poor financial decisions because of Blair's bad credit. From random purchases to loans being placed in his name under Blair's guidance, this would also include the car that was bought for Wonder. He was a co-signer for this vehicle and everything else before. This would make Oz ask Blair for help financially because he can no longer support himself because of the amount of money that he is owed because of the debt that Blair put on him because of the poor financial decisions that she led him to. This would result in him owing debt to Blair, including debt on a multi-million-dollar estate, where she would threaten to break up with him if he didn't sign. He would talk about the amount of money that he owed being around $180K. She would keep adding money into this ledger that Oz would have to pay her since he asked his partner for help. She would go around and tell people that they were close with about the situation, and this made him feel like he was a parasite because he needed help in this situation that she put him in. He would then talk about how Blair needed to be in control, and that if you were around Blair, your world needed to revolve around her or she would have issues, saying that his home became hers even though her name isn't even on it. She would have to approve of his connections that he would make. She would make him move and leave where he grew up, and said that she needed to even approve his friends that he was allowed to talk to. When Oz was 23 and Blair was 31, she would have her lawyer draw up confusing documents that would involve Oz taking all the debt that Blair had accumulated over the past couple of years. Blair, who signed the checks for Oz, knew that he couldn't pay for legal representation, and now the money that Oz was making was just getting paid right back to her, so she was pretty much getting free labor. They would sit him down in a room by themselves, handed him the papers, and would tell him that if he signed it, it would mend the relationship, and that it would protect Blair from the IRS, and would tell Oz that since she used company funds to support him, she committed embezzlement. Oz, being younger, was in a very stressful environment, and this is the same thing that happened to his mother, so he foolishly signed the papers because he didn't want to see another person he loved go to jail because of an action he made. After all this information would come out, Blair would sue Oz Media and Wonder for defamation to keep Oz's video from coming out, which is damning to a lot of people's eyes, and many see it as her being guilty already. Blair has completely burned her bridges and has lost the respect that she has gained over the years, and lost it because of her being selfish and being one of the worst creators on YouTube. And even if these accusations are not true, and I'm not saying that they are, but this is the reason why she has lost the respect of millions of people.